Okay, what's up, YouTube? I'm back with another video, and we're gonna be breaking down Tarzan. What was Tarzan really about? Okay, what was Tarzan really about? I know a lot of you all saw the movie, right? And they twist stuff up. You know what I'm saying? They got you thinking it's talking about one thing and it's really talking about another. A guy on here named G Dash the Prophet did a breakdown on Tarzan, a 2-part video. And in some of this stuff, he was saying that Tarzan is representing Jesus Christ. Right? That's what he's saying in his 2-part video. He gave a couple of references, but I don't want to play this clip because I don't get copyright strike. But the way he broke this stuff down is not what Tarzan was really about. Okay? So we're going to go into what Tarzan was really about. And we're going to go into what the author says Tarzan was really about. And a lot of y'all, like I said before, you follow this dude. So, let's go to Wikipedia. Wikipedia, they're not a reliable source, but let's go with what they got for right now. So it says Tarzan is a fictional character, an archetypal pharaoh child raised in the African jungle by the Mangini great apes. He later experienced a civilization only to be rejected and returned to the wild as a heroic adventurer. Right? And the editor, the author is Edward Rice Burroughs. This is this dude right here. Okay? Now, he says Tarzan was a archetypal, right? It says a archetype means pattern of behavior, a prototype, a first form or a main model with other statements, okay? And a pharaoh child is a human child who has lived isolated from human contact from a very young age, and so have had little or no human experience of human care, behavior, or human language. So it says that this child was living isolated at a very young age and had little or no care or no human or no experience. Right? So we gotta take this and put this in context. What are they talking about? Could this Tarzan be going back to Tarzan being the white man? And he gave 2 black people gave birth to a white baby and isolated his ass? Could this what this be talking about? I think so. Let's go into it. In the book, The Isis Papers, The Keys to the Colors, right? On page 29, and we're going to go into some more albinism. It says, finally, major documentation of Western literary symbolism that explains the origin of the global white collective alienation and unconscious awareness of this fact is the stark symbolism of the profoundly important work of Edgar Rice Burroughs, who we just looked at, the author of the Tarzan series. Okay? Tarzan, the first of this series, Tarzan of the Apes, was copyrighted in 1912 and published in 1914. Before Burroughs died in 1950, he had produced 26 Tarzan books. Okay. Now, it says here that Tarzan is the story of a British baby, Lord Greystoke, right? What they got right here, Viscount Greystoke, okay? Who was abandoned in Africa at the age of 9 months after his parents died. So what does it say on the Wikipedia? It says that he's a fictional character, right? And it says that let's see, let's go into this. He's the son of a British lord, okay? When Tarzan was an infant, his mother died and his father was killed by Kerchak, leader of the ape tribe by whom Tarzan was adopted. Okay. Soon after his parents' death, Tarzan became a feral child, and his tribe of apes are known as Mangani, great apes of species, unknown to science. But these apes they're talking about is really black people. Okay? They twist this shit up. Right? So, it says that the great black apes, quote, apes, then took care of him. As a passage from Tarzan of the Apes relates, quote, the hunger closed the gap between them and Lord Greyshore, nursed at the breast of Kala, the great ape. It is a short leap through the symbolism to decode that 9 months after conception, a white albino mutant was born to African parents or black parents and then abandoned. This is what this is talking about. The child, in its anger and alienation, later returned to the scene of its rejection to dominate the Africans and other all non-white peoples. Listen to this. Burroughs stated that the name Tarzan meant white skin in the language of the apes. Right? So these apes are supposed to be representing black people. In the 1929 copyrighted Tarzan at the Earth's Core, 13th in the series, listen to this, Burroughs explains in more detail, talking about the white boy. The sun beating down upon his naked body had no such effect upon his skin as would the sun of the outer world under like conditions. 1 second. But it did impart to him a new confidence similar to that which he would have felt had he been able to retrieve his lost apparel. And in this fact, he saw what he believed to be the real cause of his first embarrassment at his nakedness. It had been the whiteness of his skin that had made him seem so naked by contrast with other creatures. For this whiteness had suggested softness and weakness, arousing within him a disturbing sensation of inferiority. But now, as he took on his heavy coat of tan, and his feet became hardened and accustomed to the new conditions, he walked no longer in contrast realization of his nakedness. You see that? This is what Tarzan was really about. I know Tarzan represents some Jesus Christ. Now, keep this story in mind. Tarzan of the Apes, right? So Tarzan was abandoned by black parents. He came out an albino, right? And he got isolated. Okay, now keep this story in mind, and let's go to Adam and Eve. Let's see, can we find a similarity? So it says here that, check this out. Okay. It says here that Western civilization, let's see, it says on page 26, it says major evidence for this theory of albinism whiteness is found in the symbolism of the Adam and Eve biblical mythology. Western civilization looks to this mythology in the book of Genesis as the account of its beginning. The essential elements of the Adam and Eve story are that Adam and Eve were in the Garden of Eden, ate the forbidden fruit, the apple, had sexual intercourse, became ashamed of their nakedness, and was chased from the Garden of Eden. She says, my decoding of that fundamental mythology and symbolism for Western civilizations is as follows. Adam and Eve are the symbolic figures of the earlier albino mutants produced by black parents. So when you go back in this book right here, if you want to see what these albinos look like. So remember, all of this was connected. So it's not just on the continent of Africa that this stuff is taking place. No, it's on each continent, but it's all connected. So all these black folks are having these white babies, these albinos, right? They are genetic mutants, right? This is all over the continent, okay? And from these albinos, these albinos are having sex and they are producing white babies. I want you to see how this stuff is connecting with my other videos I put out on Bacon of the White Man, parts 1 through 4. So you got to keep this in mind that all of this was connected. Above photos of prehistoric drawing when the earth was one landmass. The Bible says the earth had one language, Genesis 11:1, and the earth divided, 1 Chronicles 1:19. Right? So all this is connected. They can walk. They don't need no boats. If they need a boat, it can be a canoe, but it don't need no big ass boats to get from one landmass to the next. They can walk. It's a straight shot. Right? Right here. The above photo is an ancient Egyptian map of a land bridge connecting West Africa to Brazil. Alright? You have Africa, right? You have India down here. Okay? That fell in the ocean about 15,000 years ago. Okay? It is the island of Atlantis. Africans came to North America before any other race by this land bridge. This is why Brazil has the most blacks outside of Africa. And then you have here black albinos, and their African parents, and blacks with blue eyes. So like I said before, these are two black people coming together and they produce an albino. And it says here that for many thousands of years, the black race was the only people who inhabited the whole earth. The brown, yellow, and white race are branches from this black parent stock. The races of man separated at some remote period. Let's go back here to the Adam and Eve story. Okay? So it says that Adam and Eve are the symbolic figures of the early albino mutants produced by black parents. The Garden of Eden is in Africa, the place where all knowledgeable anthropologists and paleontologists are informing us that human life began, and that the first human beings were black skinned. The apple eaten by Adam and Eve is the presumed orally ingested poison, looked upon as the cause of the mutation to albinism. This ingestion was followed by the act of sexual intercourse, which is also viewed as being responsible for the mutation to albinism and, therefore, the original sin. Adam and Eve's shame for their nakedness indicates their rejection and shame of their pale white bodies, colorless or naked. So color, they are colorless. They call black people colored, but they are colored. They don't have any color. They are the colored people. When compared to the black and brown skinned normals, their use of fig leaves. You want to see it? Let's look at some pictures. Adam and Eve, they always depicted like this. Adam and Eve in the garden. Alright, so you got here, guys, always showing this shit, right? Here they go right here. Picture right here. Right? I want you to see this. This is them. Covered in their nakedness, right? So it says here that when compared to the black brown skin normals, their use of fig leaves to cover their genitals as they are depicted implies the shame and rejection of their general apparatus, including their genes. Their expulsion from the Garden of Eden represents the isolation of the albino mutants away from the skin-pigmented normals and their voluntary or involuntary migration out of Africa, northward into Europe. Western culture goes further into the symbolism of its religious philosophy to pinpoint the eating of the apple by Adam and Eve, followed by the act of sexual intercourse, as, quote, the act of original sin. Because of this act, Western culture conceives of all of its people as being, quote, born in sin, and in need of being, quote, born again. Okay, you see that? Like right here on page 24, it says that sexual intercourse between the isolated albino mutants produce a white race. Understanding race as an isolated population sharing a significant number of common identifying genes. This pattern of isolation individuals with defective genetic patterns is no different than the present day practice of placing genetically abnormal individuals in institutions away from, quote, the normal population group. Okay? So, you have here it says sexual intercourse between the isolated albino mutants produce a white race. So these two people had sex and produced what's considered the white man, the European. So these two black people came together, had an albino, and from that albino came the white man. You see the black woman breastfeeding the albino baby. Okay? This is what your Tarzan was about. Not some Tarzan referencing of damn Jesus Christ. That nigga don't know what the hell he's talking about. He ain't give you no type of reference, no science, no DNA or nothing. Okay? Let's keep on going. Let's go to some more people, right? It's even in Moby Dick. For a more recent literary work than the Bible, the famous 19th century novelist Herman Melville, in its profoundly symbolic work about the white supremacy system culture, Moby Dick states, quote, "What is it that in the albino man so peculiarly repels and often shocks the eye, as that sometimes he is loathed by his own kith and kin? It is that whiteness which invests him, a thing expressed by the name he bears. The albino is as well made as other men, has no substantive deformity, and yet this mere aspect of all-pervading whiteness makes him more strangely hideous than the ugliest abortion. Why should this be so?" Another famous American author, Mark Twain, in a collection of articles entitled "Mark Twain on the Damn Human Race," compliments Melville's assessment in his essay "Skin Deep." Twain analysis suggests the depth of alienation experienced by white albinos. So white people are nothing but albinos. He says, quote, "Nearly all black and brown skins are beautiful, but a beautiful white skin is rare. But a beautiful white skin is rare. How rare, one may learn by walking down the street in Paris, New York, or London on a weekday, particularly an unfashionable street, and keeping count of the satisfactory complexion encountered in the course of a mile. Where dark complexions are masked, they make the whites look bleached out, unwholesome, and frankly ghastly." He says, I can notice this as a boy, down south in the slavery days before the war. The splendid black satin skin of the South African Zulus of Durban seemed to me to come very close to perfection. I can see those Zulus yet, handsome and intensely black creatures, moderately clothed in loose summer stuffs whose snowy whiteness made the black all the blacker by contrast. He goes on to continue, detailing the negative attributes of white skin. He says, the advantage is with the Zulu, I think. He starts with a beautiful complexion, and it will last him through. As for the Indian, brown, firm, smooth, blemishless, pleasant and restful to the eye, afraid of no color, harmonizing with all colors, and adding grace to them all. I think there is no sort of chance for the average white complexion against that rich and rich and perfect tint. So Tarzan is not about Tarzan is about him being isolated, because he was he came out an albino. All this stuff is, go back and watch my videos on Making of the White Man parts 1 through 4. This is what your white supremacy is about. The white man, or the albino, is afraid of becoming extinct. Because if black people keep on producing black babies, the white man is gonna be, he is the minority. This is facts. This is facts. Okay? She says, I also view these approaches as insufficient and conclude, as argued in my earlier discussion of alienation, that anxiety in the Western civilization and culture stems from the origin of that culture, which rests most fundamentally in the production of albino mutants from black parents in Africa. See that? So that's your Tarzan exposed. That's your Moby Dick exposed. You know what I'm saying? Africa, Adam and Eve exposed. Exposed 3 damn things in less than 20 minutes. White skin is a form of albinism. Okay? They were isolated, were kicked out. So this is your so-called Garden of Eden, or your Atlantis. All of this was connected. All of this. This is your Garden of Eden. All of this, not just one landmass. All of this. Remember what I said. When you go here, the planet Earth was a world of all black people from the beginning of 66 trillion BC to 4000 BC. So it says blacks were in America when African America was one land and divided 40,000 BC. Remember, the white man just came on the scene 6,600 years ago, 6,000 years ago. So the first of everything was black. The first Europeans were black folks. The black Gamaldi Africans occupied all parts of Europe in 15,000 BC. The first white man was made 4,000 BC from black albinos. Ancient Greece was started by